And thank you, Linda, so much for sharing that reading with us. And a very warm welcome to all of you who got the message through that we were having a 10 o'clock service this morning. Great to have all of you in church, and a very, very warm welcome as well to the entire Innes family who is scattered around the community this morning. Wonderful to have all of you with us today as well. Last Sunday, which was the first Sunday in Advent, we began to share the story of Mary. Advent is the season of preparation for Christmas, and it's the time in which we always tell that story of Mary, of how she was visited by the angels, Gabriel, and told this incredible news that she would bear a child whose name would be Jesus, who would be this incredible presence, spiritual presence in the world. And we talked about what an amazing moment that must have been for Mary, according to the storyteller Luke, and the kind of shock and surprise that must have engendered in her at that time. But we also noted that she had this deep sense of trust in God and was able to give herself over to the divine in trust that whatever was to unfold here would be a wonderful thing. But you can imagine the shock that she felt. So this week we carry on with the story of Mary as she grows into this appreciation for this new thing that has just happened in her life. And the overwhelming emotion that Mary is now experiencing as she's had a little bit of time to settle into the news and get over the shock of supposedly being pregnant with God's own child, this sort of thing. As she gets over the shock, what emerges in her is just this deep sense of joy, this deep sense of gratitude, this deep and profound happiness for being pregnant. And I think it's a joy and a happiness that any young woman who has ever been pregnant, or any woman who has ever been pregnant, will know that deep sense of, oh, what a gift this is. Despite all the other turmoil that's going on in a woman's body at that time, there's this deep sense of joy to be bringing a new gift of life into the world. But the interesting thing about Mary's situation is that her joy doesn't just emerge out of the gift and the awareness and the knowledge of having a child, which all mothers know about. Her joy also emerges from another place, and it's this place of dawning recognition and awareness that God has chosen her in particular, for this special child. Because Mary she's a very humble, she's a peasant girl. She's the most unwealthy, the most unfamous, the most unpowerful person you can possibly imagine. And yet God has chosen her for this very, very special undertaking and task in the world. She says, "Who am I that you have chosen your lowly servant for this wonderful undertaking?" And then she sings that song of the Magnificat, right? It's this wonderful, wonderful song, the Song of Mary, just made so famous over the years. And it's often called the Song of Reversals, because it's a song in which God turns the usual values, or the song turns the usual values of the world upside down, okay? First of all, God chooses a lowly peasant girl to be the mother of God's son, right? And then what she also says is, you have shown strength, you have scattered the proud in their conceit, you have deposed the mighty from their thrones, you have raised the lowly to high place, you have filled the hungry with good things, you have sent away the rich empty, you have come to the aid of Israel your servant. So God is reversing the usual order of things that human beings consider important, and God lifts up the weak, the dispossessed, the lowly, the humble, to a place of great prestige and power. And you know, because of that sense of, wow, God has chosen me, Mary goes on to be this profound presence this significant presence all throughout Christendom. She takes the responsibility that God has given her to raise this special child with the utmost of seriousness. She becomes this quintessential mother to all Christians. And as a result of that, in many parts of the world, Mary is more famous than Jesus. You know that, right? Millions of people the world over don't pray to Jesus, they pray to Mary because they just love Mary. She has that kind of presence in the world. I always love the joke about God calling in St. Peter one day, and God's in a bit of a tiff, right? Says, "Hey, Peter, you're letting all sorts of riffraff into heaven. You're supposed to be sending them to the other place." And Peter says, "Don't look at me. It's not my problem. It's Jesus. He's at the front door," and they come to the front door, and he sends them away. But then they go around to the back door, and that's where Mary is, and she lets them in, right? Mary has become the paradigm, the quintessential paradigm throughout Christendom of compassion, of love, of caring, of a very set of human values that embrace our utmost humanity and lifts up that humanity. So as I was thinking about Mary and having these ponderings for today, I got to thinking about this other special gal that we are celebrating today. And can I have the picture now? And so this is Bernice Innes. This is just a lovely, lovely, wonderful lady who died in 2011, has been a part of our community for years and years and years. She was born in 1919 in New Brunswick to a totally unwealthy, unpowerful, humble family. Right? She was born in a family that made their living off the land. She was born in the years between World War I and World War II. They were hard times. She didn't receive a big university education and all of that kind of thing. And at the age of 19, she married a young fellow by the name of Jack Innes. And this was 1940, and Gloria started to allude to this story. And together they decided to start at the beginning of the war years this little business here in Bedford called the Chicken Burger. How many of you have eaten at the Chicken Burger? You all know the Chicken Burger. So when we did the reflection at the celebration of life for Bernice, I always remember Jack's words. Jack, I always remember you saying at this time, "Here was my mom. She was a young 19-year-old. She did not have any marketing experience. She had no sales experience. She had no management experience. She didn't have an MBA from St. Mary's. She had none of that kind of stuff. And yet, because her husband was quite engaged in the war effort, she almost single-handedly, although he helped out at the end of the day, but she had to take over management of this operation. And you can see it in her eyes. She may not have had a lot of formal training, a lot of education. She didn't come from a wealthy kind of family with all sorts of connections and that sort of thing. But even in this picture a couple years before, she had spunk, she had spirit, she had a kind of a lovely curiosity and energy about life, and she had faith. She had faith in herself, she had faith in her God, she had faith that together with Jack as this young couple, they could take this little business and make something really wonderful and successful with it. And they went on to do that, and went on to create an iconic business here in Bedford. But you know, the interesting thing is, in my many conversations with Bernice in later years as she got older, the thing that always struck me about Bernice when she would talk about the chick, and she was the chicken burger lady, right? She was Bedford's chicken burger lady. She wasn't proud of the fact that this had become a really successful business. She wasn't proud of the fact that she had become very well-to-do in her later years, that she had a lot of prestige and recognition in the community. She was proud of the fact of what Gloria mentioned earlier. What she spoke about when she spoke about her life in the chick was the people. She talked about all the young people, the teenagers that Gloria had mentioned earlier. She talked about all the young people that she had she had actually become a second mom to. She was a young woman, 19-year-old, when she started that business. She became pregnant. She had 4 children. She had Barbara and Jack and Tom and Mike, and she was raising those 4 children. But she also became kind of like a den mom to all these young women and young men who worked at the Chicken Burger over the years. And she was an incredibly influential and wonderful guiding presence in their lives too. And it's those stories, and it's that kind of contribution that she made that was kind of the crowning sort of sense of accomplishment in her life. The whole story of Mary, and I would suggest to you in some ways that the story of Bernice too. It's a story about what are the values in life that really matter? What are the contributions in life that really make a difference at the end of the day? It's not ultimately about money. It's not about success and prestige and power. It's truly, at the end of the day, it's about people caring for people, helping people out, lending a hand. That's what making a difference is really all about. Those are the values that Mary passed on to her son Jesus. Those are the values that the whole Judeo-Christian tradition lifts up and has passed forward, and that Jesus demonstrated so powerfully in his own life as well. And those are the values very much that Bernice Innes represented in her life, and that we acknowledge and celebrate this day. So Bernice was very involved in the life of the community over the years. She was not only an incredibly busy entrepreneur and a mom and all of those sorts of things, but she contributed to many other organizations in the community. She was also very active here at Bedford United Church. She was a lifelong member of our Bedford United Church women as well. Okay. But near the end of her days, she had contributed in many ways to the church over the years. She decided, I want to make one last kind of special contribution to my church. And she had worked hard all her life. She had, come from a real hard-working kind of background in childhood. But she also had an eye for beauty. And she had a sense of the importance of community. And this place was important as a place of community for her. So she wanted to lend a gift to this place that would help to foster beauty and a sense of community and a sense of coming together in this place. And so that's why she made a contribution to this place. But her original idea was to have stained glass windows in the place. But that became an unrealistic goal because the cost, the cost of stained glass windows is going forward. And if we had put stained glass windows in the place, it would have been impossible. But so we approached the Innes family, and we said, we know what Bernice held as important in her life. She wanted to give a gift that was beautiful to the church and a gift that would lift up the values, create the sense of community and coming together that the Chick was all about and that BUC is all about. And thank you to the Innes family. They said, this little idea that we have would be just perfect. There are a number of other people who have contributed to the project as well. People who reflect the same kind of spirit that Bernice had as well. Roy Smith. He was a humble, gentle, soft-spoken gay man who really, really respected the fact that Bedford United Church was on the path to becoming an affirming congregation. And when he died at an earlier age, he decided, I want to leave a gift to my church too, to support the way that this community is truly inclusive and welcoming of all people. And so he left a wonderful gift to the church as well. And there was a portion of that gift that the inclusivity team then went on to say that we still haven't used, and they said, Roy would love for this part of his gift to be left. And that's why we've created this little inclusivity library corner. It's a place where people can gather and open their minds to new ideas about how we can be more welcoming and inclusive to one another as a community. And you'll see this lovely hanging in the corner that represents the affirming colors, the pride colors. And that's a special gift to, a special memory of Roy. And then we have also folks like the Archibald family and the Seward family, who have left a gift in memory of Ed and Tom Archibald, two wonderful people who also valued community, valued people coming together, who have loved this church for so many years and who have made a contribution to the project as well. And also Archie and Heather McPherson. Heather, who died from cancer a couple of years ago, they made this lovely contribution of a new projector so we could see the picture of Bernice and experience ourselves as communities so much more powerfully. All the people who have contributed to this project have contributed because they value our sense of community, they value the faith, the spirit of inclusion that's present in this place, and they want to build on that and make it even stronger in years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Innes family and the Seward family and the Archibald family and the McPherson family and for Roy Smith, let's give them a great big hand of appreciation because it's just fabulous.
Morning. My name's Darrell Johnston, for those that don't know me. I'm going to speak a little bit about volunteers and volunteerism this morning. Before I do that, just a couple things on the Innes family. I was talking to a friend of mine that actually bought the chicken burger just the other day, and I said, I really didn't know Bernice, but what can you tell me about her? And he said, just a really kind, caring person. He said, pretty strong too. And he said, we bought the chicken burger. She was talking about leaving the house. And she said, yeah, I guess I'll have to leave. It'll probably kill me. And Mickey said, well, how about you stay in the house? That would be lovely. So all sorts of stories like that. And the same thing when we first talked about it, I talked to Alice Hustins. I said, do you think the Innes family would be interested in dedicating some of this towards this project? And she said, yeah, I think Bernice would really love it. So we're really pleased to be able to do it. There's countless people in this church that we could talk about what they do financially and volunteers-wise, but we wanted to start trying to recognize people more publicly. Sometimes we were a little afraid to recognize somebody publicly because we might miss somebody, and we surely will. But the celebration is about what things have gotten done. So, a couple of weeks ago, David talked about paying it forward, and I think everybody kind of knows what that means, but I looked it up on Google. So, paying it forward is an expression for describing the beneficiary of a good deed, repaying it to others instead of the original benefactor. Each of the volunteers that have been noted in the bulletin have been paying it forward for years. They've been touched in some way by their experience here at Bedford United Church. Whether you've been married here, or that you've been baptized here or confirmed here, whether your children have grown up feeling the spirit of kindness in this congregation and are better people for it, or maybe some of you or your loved ones have been here and been cared for through tragedy. We've all been touched in some way. My sister worked here for a number of years. Nancy and I were married here. Mackenzie was baptized here. And Mackenzie is now a member of Teens United, or Poutines United as they call it, and it's helping to make her a better person. And we're very pleased to be able to hear. My daughter Megan, and her and I have been helping to come together here. We've been enjoying our time together here too. It's a very special place. And she gets to bring her nephew, DJ, and my grandson here, so he gets to play, and he loves the space too, and he was baptized here. So for people like us, how can you not try and help and do something special and return it to the church? Because it's been done so much for me and my family. We all feel better about the world and ourselves when we do pay it forward and give of our talents. We had a BUC 101 the last few weeks, and of course David springs a question on us last week. Would you like to get together in small groups, and what's your purpose in life? You have 3 to 5 minutes to decide that. Thanks, David. It was interesting. So many people just said, if I could just be known as a great parent, if I could be a better citizen, or I could be a better caregiver, that would be good. And that's another way of paying it forward. If we are great parents and we make better people, then it'll be a better society. And in my role as chair, I get to see this all the time. It really strengthens my faith in humanity. Every time I get to know another member of this congregation a bit more, I'm really struck by the kindness and how the common good is in all of us. This week, Jim Whitaker took an hour out of his schedule to help me put little felt stickies on the bottom of all the chairs. Paul Wheaton and Cliff Doms helped put together an IKEA shelf. They, above everybody, should get all the credit for this. When Melanie said, got an IKEA shelf, I went, IKEA shelf? And there's like 18,000 parts in the shelf. And they had hammers and stuff going on. Okay, well, that looks good. This one should fit, but thank you, guys. Paul raid yesterday, got the sound working in the narthex so we can have music there. And then a great friend of ours, Kim King, engaged the services of her son, because Monica Geske had gathered all the stuff from the community boards that we did last fall and put them in a brand cloud or a wordle in the form of a heart. And Mackenzie, who is Kim's son, took that, he's a graphics design student, and put it together so we could blow it up. It'll be affixed to the wall more permanently next week, but we started to affix it and the paint started to come off. So there's lots of little tweaks in this narthex project that don't lean on any walls when you're here. And Nova. Nova just finished her sommelier first phase of the course on Thursday and scrambled together and put together the slideshow that we have in front of us and going into the narthex. One person who stands out above all of this is somebody I'd like to introduce you, and I'd ask her to come forward, is Melanie Orr. Get up here. Some people may know her as Lori's daughter or Paige's mom. But when we first started talking about this, I asked Rick Gunn, I said, do you know anybody that can help us guide through this process? He said, well, Melanie Orr. So Melanie has become my boss in this project. So they'll say, well, what do you think we should do about this, Daryl? And I go, I don't know, ask Melanie. I don't know. But when I first asked her, she said, yeah, I could help out. And then we started on this thing, and I saw her decorator brain kick in. And she started looking at, we'll do this, we'll do that. And then over a period of time, I saw a transition from her head to her heart. And she really became important that this be really, really a give back to the community. She said that this place has been a special place for her dad to come to coffee time on Tuesday. and it's really contributed to Paige's growing up. Everybody that knows Paige from her singing and involvement over the years, it's making her a great young woman. So I would like to congratulate you and thank you for everything you've done. Come on up. My opinion exactly. And I've been fortunate to be able to have some extra time to donate to this project, but I really see so many people that just give when it's not convenient, and it really, you meet so many people when you're doing stuff, when you're putting together IKEA shelves, you find out all sorts of things about people that you wish you didn't know. But this is a special place, and we wanted to give you an opportunity to have peace and welcoming in the narthex over time. Jocelyn Tingley is the coffee queen here. She came in on Friday for the coffee demonstration. She's gone through more coffee in the last hour and a half than in the last 10 years, so we may have to budget differently next year for budget coffee. So, but thank you all for everybody that's done so much to make this and carry it forward. So we appreciate everybody's help and effort, so thank you.
No. You don't get out of here so quickly, buddy. So you know, Daryl came on as council chair last spring, and as I think he may have shared, some of you know at the time, he was coming into the position left by Val Welsh. Val right here. And you all know that, and we all knew that Val was an incredible chairperson of our church council who guided us through some really challenging times, including the time when I was away during getting chemotherapy. But Val also accomplished all sorts of incredible stuff around here, including a new constitution for the place, all sorts of work. And so when it was time for Val to step out of the position, we were going like, who can we bring on into this position? I was thinking that. And so Val and I were throwing names around, and we could think. So we took Daryl out for lunch, which is the way it happens, right, Val? We took Daryl out for lunch, and we said, you're going to be the new chair. And Daryl said, no way, he said. And he said, I can't do this. I'm a busy person. I'm contributing in all sorts of other places. And he says, besides, Val, I could never fill your shoes. They're big shoes that she left. But Val and I just looked at him, didn't we, Val? We said, Daryl, you're it. And he knew that he was it. What we didn't quite know, I think, Val, at the time, was how totally type A and how totally competitive Daryl is. And what we didn't quite know is that Daryl, once he got used to the shock of being given this new pair of shoes to fill, decided, I'm not just going to fill those shoes, I'm going to leave even bigger shoes for my successor. You know, that's the thinking that goes on in his head. So we got into conversations about work that needed to be done around the place, and I had been praying secretly that Daryl would retire and that his paid employment would come to an end so that he'd have lots of time to put into the place. And my prayers came true. And boy, have you stepped into those shoes. And you know, I'm not sure I'd want him to be my boss in my paying job because he likes to get things done and he just drives to get things. You know the deadlines to get this foyer done for this morning. We were pushing deadlines constantly. And there's no one who could get that done like him. I said, Daryl, I never want you to be my boss. And he said, David, I am your boss. Anyways, as I said, you know, a project like this really needs a champion. And Daryl's just taken hold of it, and I don't know anyone who could move it forward with the kind of gentleness and loving kind of attitude and caring spirit that you have done, Daryl, and still get it done on time, on schedule, on budget. So we know that flowers, and Melanie, you've been awesome. Where are you again? Just put Melanie. You're You've been incredible. And the flowers that we've given you are an expression of the beauty of your being and your spirit and the beauty that you brought to this place. Okay. In Daryl's case, we didn't really think about beauty. What we thought about was Daryl's been in the food business all these years, and he's actually quite a good chef, and he's got this kind of culinary sort of ability. So some of you may know that Daryl just, if you ever want to do something nice for Daryl, Daryl loves pie.
Almost break out into, what is it? You are our champion, because he has been, so I hope you enjoy. And it's all for you, Nancy.
You are
for
champion.
you. I think Megan should get one piece. She helped. Thank you.
Give him a big hand again, folks. And Daryl said to me after this was all done, he said, well, I'm going to take a break. And I said, well, not too long, Daryl. I've got another project on my mind for you. We're going to fix parking around this place. What do you think about that? We're going to fix parking. We're going to get that resolved, and Daryl's going to be the man to do it.
What a wonderful recognition of all the work and the commitment that a huge number of people have put into this. Just before we move into our closing hymn, let's join together in prayer. Thank you, Lord, for the gift of light and the morning sunrise that stirs our hearts and awakens our souls to the possibilities of each new day. Thank you, Lord, for bringing light into our darkness and for the gifts of hope, love, and happiness. We ask for strength, wisdom, and courage for ourselves, for our families, our friends, and those who are feeling sadness in this holy season. Hold them and us in your gifts of hope, peace, joy, and love. We pray that we will forever show our gratitude through service to you, our community, and our world. Let us all be in peace, live with peace, and work together for peace. Help each of us to go and make a difference. Amen.
Our closing hymn this morning, Come, O Long Expected Jesus. Let's rise and sing together.
Set your people free from our
So as you each prepare for the coming of Christmas and the birth of Jesus, let us go in peace and do what we can to make the world a better place. Amen.